it's really important for, especially with these bigger works, to analyze the structure, because all pieces, like all poetry, there's a certain formula. So if you can figure that out and analyze that, that'll make it easier for you to stay on track of your pieces, to learn the pieces, to memorize them. I'm just trying to figure out, okay, so here's theme 1. And then theme 2. Which is not too bad on. I mean, theme 2 is actually quite long before we get to the recap. Or not the recap, the development. That is the middle section, the middle angsty section. Okay. Okay, I think the last time I practiced this, I worked on the second theme. So I'm going to move ahead a little bit and just deal with, well, I'll focus on the second theme, but I'll go further and then deal with that transition leading into the development, because that has a similar technical challenge that my next student has to work on, so I might as well kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Excuse me, I just need to put this on. Actually, you know what? I've been sitting for a while and I'm starting to feel stretched or hunched, so I'm going to put on my handy dandy Posture-matic. So check out Wednesday's live stream. I show off that. But it's, I mean, in a nutshell, it is a posture stabilizer and exercise band for doing stretches and core strengthening. So, unlike the one that's kind of set up or built as a tensor bandage, this one actually encourages your body or teaches your body to learn how to position properly. I'm just trying to rearrange this transmitter without hitting the mute button, because that would be bad. Okay, sweater. So we're supposed to get snow, hey? Again? I suppose we really shouldn't complain. It is November after all. We've been quite spoiled in that regard. Which, that's nice to have a bit of a break. We have to take our breaks where we can. Okay, so hang on, this transmitter's sitting in an awkward spot, so that makes sitting awkward. Okay, so I've decided I'm going to deal with the B theme and that transition into the development. So that is what I'm going to drill, because that is definitely what my students and I are going to be looking at next week. Okay, so starting on the pickup to bar 23, I guess. Yeah, that works. Okay, so I see circles there, so I'll have to make sure that my student is doing her rests. D minor chord would be nice. And then we've got this. Okay, so note to my student whenever she does get to this, analyze these chords. So we've got here, left hand's got this, right hand's doing, so that's 2 bars of D minor, saying that we are moving from F major to D minor, which is the relative minor. And then we're doing this chord. Nothing like using a diminished seventh chord to establish that you are in a minor key. Yeah, I'm showing off that leading tone. So back to showing off the new tonic. And then once again. But that's actually different. That would be our diminished seventh for C minor. So, and that is, hey, a C minor scale. Fancy that. And look at what's next. C minor triad. So yeah, this is not rocket science. If you know your triads and if you know your theory, you can actually see what kind of patterns the composers were thinking of. They weren't picking random chords. That's an A flat major triad. 6. Oh, I'm holding on to that too long. I'll just have to make sure my student doesn't hold on to that too long. That could just be a me thing, though. Yeah, that's it. And then what do we have next? G major. Temporarily. Oh, it's just an accident. Run on the first one. That is stressing G, isn't it? But then you look at the next bar, and we're like suddenly in. Okay. C major. Okay, I'm just going to run through that again. I'm just thinking about my student as I'm running through this. I mean, if you are learning a piece like this, you should just be focusing on the piece. But as a teacher, part of our brain is concentrating on, okay, what was the last thing that happened at the last lesson that, we need to make sure is addressed, or, that's a trouble spot, or I'm sure it's going to be a trouble spot. So. Okay, so making sure she does the finger changes, that was the one thing that kind of popped into my head. And because the little accenty, the carroty accent doodads, it'll be a little staccatissimo in a way. So what I'm going to have to make sure, and I'll have the overhead camera focused while she plays this, is to make sure she's letting go, because that is her Achilles heel. Oh, that's a wrong note. We are saying we are firmly in C major. That's a G7, okay. I don't know. I find, I'm sure other teachers have noticed this too when they get transfer students. We have to really work on getting them to master those slurs, those two-note slurs. That's just so operatic. But then this is Mozart we're talking about. So yeah, as I said, what I'm thinking about is my student and the possible challenges she will have with this section, may have with this section. And if you are not my student and you're watching this, you can bet your bottom dollar there that your teacher is going to be watching to make sure you're doing your slurs and your lifts, because it's kind of what makes Mozart Mozart. And I mean, the composers were pretty specific about how they wanted that to sound. Okay, so another challenge is this cross rhythm. So 1 and 2 and 3 and against 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet. So yeah. So anyone who's not familiar with that could just start by doing this. So get a firm feel for that chord. But it's this has to be even independently, and this has to be articulated just so. So you need to get that to the point where you're not really thinking too hard. Oh my God. Oh my God. If Joe Senpai is watching or listening at some point in time, yeah, this came up in martial arts class. I was thinking too hard about my technique. So I was being told to not think so hard. So hang on. So what am I thinking of? I'm just thinking about the slurs and kind of ignoring what's happening in my left hand. And you pretty much kind of have to ignore one of the hands. So I'm focusing on melody because melody was very, very important to Mozart. And a lot of his pieces are very operatic or very melodic. So. F major chord next. Okay, hang on. Yeah. That's it. And I gotta make sure my student lifts there. Okay, so I'm just thinking about this harmonically and structurally. So we've had, the first few lines saying, hey, we are in F major, we are in F major, we are, hey, totally in F major. And then the next little bit is, no, we are in D minor. We are totally in D minor. Oh, but now we're like in G minor. And then G is the dominant of C minor. And then, hey, let's just go to the tonic major, C major. So see that he's moving to closely related keys. Harmony is important, very important. And then after saying C major, and then it's like, hey, we're in C major, which happens to be the dominant of F major. Again, closely related key. And we're going to hang out in C for a while. Okay, I want to run through that opening bit again, or not that opening bit, but the cross rhythm. Hang on, because I know I can do that better. So I'm not too sure why my brain and my fingers are stuttering in that spot. So let's see if I can analyze that. So mindful practicing. Maybe I'm not too sure what fingering I want there. I think if I have the thumb there, then that'll make that easier to follow what is there. Okay, I need to remove the posture medic doodad because it does get tight after a while, and you're not supposed to wear it for hours. I was bad. I wore it through most of the teaching day yesterday, so. But yeah, you're actually supposed to just wear it in 15 to 30-minute chunks. Oh, blood flow is a lovely thing. Stretch breaks are good. Actually, I'll stand. That'll make putting the sweater on quite easier, or much easier. All right, so I'm going to adjust the chair. So it's actually good to get up every now and again in the middle of a practice. I'm actually going to, I don't know, it's nice to have the overhead camera, I think, for people who are especially learning. As much as I'd like to put the side camera on as well, it's just trying to think about what would be the most beneficial for anyone learning this piece. Okay, so I am going to deal with that treble spot that I had, so bar 47. Actually, I'm going to go back a bit leading into that, because I have to get the fingering kind of settled in my head. You want to get the fingering settled fairly early, because you don't want to be thinking about that when you're dealing with shaping. Oh, I did a funky little lift there, which I'm sure my student would do, or some of my students. Okay, I should not be doing it. There's where I lift. See, I'm not very even there at the end, and my fingering was bad, so I'm going to drill that. One more time for good measure. I'm going to go back a beat. Get that a bit more secure. Okay, that's getting more consistent. I'm going to go back one more bar, or one more beat, I should say. You can decide if you want that. Could probably detach that, because this edition's very, very clear as to where it's supposed to be legato. Okay, I know theoretically that is harmonically a 5-to-1 cadence, but my fingers and my brain, I think it's because of the chromatic little bit in bar 54, so let's get that. So I'm just toggling back and forth. For fingering, because that's a good setup for what's coming up next. So I'm just going to do that whole section slowly. That needs to be a thumb. And that's got to be 2/3. So yeah, I think what my student and I are going to have to make sure is we're going to both commit to fingering there. The part that I really like. It's very operatic. Like, what's happening? There's going to be a dramatic scene. Hang on. Ooh, see, that changes. So that's going to need to be drilled, of course, anytime the pattern changes. squishy, and I'll have to deal with fingering there. Okay, so definitely, I mean, we all tend to have similar treble spots when the pattern changes. So that is what I'm going to drill. So I'm going to go to bar 61, 2, 3. Unless, you know, some of the problem spots are different depending on learning style. But in general, when it comes to coordination, it's when the pattern changes. I got to think fingering, and then nope. No, I have to remember there's a E flat. Okay, and then I think we're transitioning back. Okay, so I think I've ripped that apart. I did not quite get to the technique that I wanted to cover, actually. So sometimes your practice plan changes depending on, you know, what is the treble spot for the day.